TYT Sports, everybody. Ben Mankiewicz, Jason Rubin, our producer, is here as well. So there's a story, an intriguing story on Yahoo Sports about the Pheonix Suns and all the cap space they've cleared because they are going to make a run at LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony. It would still give them cap space next year to go after a third big player, perhaps Kevin Love, or trade the significant assets that they have, a bunch of #1 picks, and try to get Love this year. I love that Pheonix is doing this because they were thought to be, before the season started, along with the 76ers, the team most tanking it for Wiggins. What were they calling it? Something for Wiggins, wasn't it? Didn't it rhyme? Stinking for Wiggins?
Something like stinking for Wiggins.
But anyway, and then they went off and won 48 games in the West, and they were in the playoff spot till really the last couple of weeks of the season. And, with Bledsoe and Goran Dragic, who I love to watch play. I actually saw a couple of Pheonix games in person this year, and then I got obsessed with betting on him, that he'd have a certain number of points in a given game. And he's an intriguing player. I don't even think they do enough with him. So I love that they're doing this. I love it. There is a 0% chance of it happening. 0. If it's 0.2 and you're Pheonix, you got to do it. But the problem is that they're not going to get Carmelo Anthony. They're not going to get LeBron James. And they're going to end up with all this cap space, and they're going to end up overpaying for players who don't warrant that kind of money. That would be my guess. Jason?
So like you said, 0.2% chance. I can't say like 0% chance that LeBron and Melo or Love or any of these amazing players end up on the Suns, but I like that it's a realistic scenario compared to, like the Knicks making a run at LeBron James. There's no cap space, and the Bulls trying to get LeBron and Carmelo and Love all in the same. Like, there's a good chance they get one of them.
Yeah, but the Bulls have a scenario at getting Carmelo.
Yes.
And, again, the Bulls have to think, how do we pull this off? Is there a way we do this? And every scenario where it works out for the Bulls involves a healthy Derrick Rose. And then you add a healthy Derrick Rose and you throw Carmelo into the mix and you sort of take out the defensive black hole that is Carlos Boozer. And if there is a possible way to maintain Taj Gibson on that team, obviously that becomes a very interesting team coached by, who I think, and I think many think is one of the top 3 or 4 coaches in the league. That's an intriguing scenario for the Bulls.
Derrick Rose, who will have no part in recruiting LeBron or Kevin Love or Carmelo Anthony. He keeps coming out saying these things as if Derrick Rose is supposed to go out and recruit these guys, a guy who's played, 30 games in the last 4 years?
Well, I still think he could. It happens on teams. It's just Chris Paul would go do it. But you don't have to do it. It's not your job, right. So I do these guys, like, with Bosh and Wade and James opting out, it took people a while, I guess, to recognize what was going on. And what was going on was that they were doing the Heat a favor. With Bosh and Wade owed $20-some-odd million apiece.
I got it for you. It's Dwayne Wade is around 20.7. James is 20.7 million. Anthony is 22.4. Wade's right around the same number, with I think like 19.5 million.
Yeah. So they don't want to pay him that.
No.
And they can give him more money in more years, but stretch it out and give him the cap space. And obviously, what the Heat are doing, they saw what happened in the postseason, and that they weren't terribly impressive in any of their series wins against a weakened East. And then they got outclassed. They almost lost 5 straight games to the Spurs. A very fortunate set of circumstances had them win game 2. So they need to upgrade that roster. And the way to upgrade that, you can't upgrade that roster as it was. And that seems so patently obvious to me that that's what this opting out is about. I guess it comes with a risk because other teams can make significant presentations. And can Cleveland entice LeBron for a return? Is there some scenario in the world, ESPN was listing the 5 places he might end up, and one of them was the Clippers. They don't have any cap space, and the assets that they'd have to give up to make that happen, it seemed unrealistic. That seemed Fantasyland fan talk. Like, oh man, let's get LeBron to play with Blake Griffin and Chris Paul, and won't that be fantastic? Yeah, it would be. That would be an all-star team, and it's never going to happen. Obviously, there's an attractiveness to LeBron playing with Chris Paul, and I think we'd all love to see LeBron with a great point guard.
Yep.
By the way, if he went to Phoenix, he could play with a pretty good point guard. And maybe what the Heat will do, by the way, in this is attempt to bring in a real point guard. Maybe that real point guard will be Shabazz Napier.
I think that's like the most instrumental part of how the Heat are going to make more runs at championships is besides re-signing LeBron, who still played an unbelievable finals and run, is signing a point guard, someone to control the floor. You look at the Spurs and even Tony Parker, he's getting older. Like he was still able to make every call necessary to lead the Spurs. I can't say Kawhi Leonard also, and just a better system.
As you know, I like to refer to Kawhi Leonard as Vashon Leonard.
Vashon Leonard. Yes.
I'm interested to see what the Heat, whoever ends up with LeBron, and I mean, we all have to face the fact, like it or not, that there's like a 98.8% chance that it's the Heat. And because we're talking about Phoenix's cap space, you know who has tons of cap space? The Heat, because they don't have any players. I mean, that's the whole point. They have like $57 million, so they can orchestrate that in a number of ways. But is LeBron's career lengthened? Is his time as an elite player, as the #1 player in the league, or at least the top 5 player at top, is it lengthened with somebody else handling the ball most of the time? Or is that offset because when he's not sort of the point forward in the offense, does he lose effectiveness? Is he not going to be as good a player if he's off the ball a lot more? He'll still be great, but I mean, those are reasonable basketball decisions that people have to make. So while it would be totally intriguing to see him play with a great point guard like Chris Paul, but even like Bledsoe and Dragic, like guys like that, would that make him less effective? Or would somehow he become more effective? And while his scoring would probably go down a little bit, would he turn into a guy instead of getting up close to 30 points a game, would he be at 24, 25 points a game? And would those assists come up to where he's in the top 10 in the league in assists? Would the rebounds go up? Would he merely be healthier and have to play fewer stressful minutes? All things that matter to a 30-year-old, and I think are interesting. But I think he's gonna end up back in Miami. I think most people who follow this game and the reporters who cover it think he's gonna end up back in Miami. I think it's only a matter of time. But there's obviously a risk. He's a free agent, and some team could put together something spectacular and lure 2 of those guys and a third person like Anthony somewhere else. But I do not see Carmelo Anthony and LeBron James playing together next year.